Kathy, have you ever felt so pumped up in your life?
Okay, I have a witness. I was kind of dancing here.
Oh, I know. You were doing your Ellen thing. I saw it.
You did? You did?
Oh, yeah. I saw it. Yeah. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another Facebook Friday Live. It is December 15th, 2023. We are winding down 2023. I can't even believe it. My guest today is Kathy Stevens. If you don't know who Kathy is, you're going to learn all about her. I want you to know that Kathy joined me on episode 195 on the Plant Strong podcast. And we called that episode Over 20 Years of Love Spoken Here. And what we're referring to there is Kathy is the founder of the Catskill Animal Sanctuary. And Kathy, can you believe you've been doing that for over 20 years now?
No, it does not match it feels like, well, some days it feels like 50, but no, time, I think the older we get, the faster time seems to evolve. So no, it does not feel like 23 years now.
Yeah. And, but this kind of, it's kind of in your blood, right? I mean, you grew up in Virginia on a horse farm, right? So you grew up around animals.
Is that right? Animals. I sort of feel like I have them in my DNA, been around them literally since I was 2 years old. And in fact, somewhere there are photos of me, I can't believe this, as a little thing standing between a horse's two front legs with my arms wrapped around the horse's legs. I cannot believe my parents let me do that. But yeah, they've been in my life, animals of all sorts from the beginning.
Yeah. And so you were able to get this little kind of piece of property that is the Catskill Animal Sanctuary 20 years ago. And if I'm not mistaken, it was originally like wasn't it just loaded with trash? Wasn't it just like a Herculean task to kind of clear it up?
You have a good memory. Yes, it had been, interestingly, also a racehorse farm, just like what I grew up on. It was a standard bred, not a thoroughbred racehorse farm, but they had fallen onto hard times and sort of shut down the business years earlier. And then the very eccentric owner of the property let his country neighbors use it as a junkyard. So there were hundreds of tires and one hill where they brought their box springs and their oil tanks and their just garbage. And so it was cleaning it up. Just the cleaning up took a year. And what was interesting, I have this funny memory. A lot of times when we would dig a fence post, the auger, the big drill thing, the auger would get stuck and we'd dig it out. And sure enough, they had buried things underground. So, probably a little toxic action happening here for the first few years, but it's been a good home.
Wow. And over the last 20 years, just give us a rough estimate. How many animal lives would you say that you guys have helped save?
Depends on how you count it, Rip. So we've saved around 5,000 through direct rescue, most of whom have come here, some of whom we've placed elsewhere by working with whomever. And that's still to this day, that is the joy of the work, like taking in these broken beings and telling them they matter.
Well, I can remember from our last conversation how, it's such difficult work. It's sad work. It's joy driven. There's a lot of laughter, happiness. I mean, it's the gambit, the gambit. Anyway, yes. Of every emotion you can imagine that you guys experience. It seems like every day.
Well, yeah, and if people who have dogs or cats in their homes, you get frustrated with them. You absolutely below them. You are bereft when they pass. It just, they are part of the family. So this is a big extended family. And we literally do know these turkeys and pigs and cows and old blind horses and sheep, etc. Like people know the dog that sleeps at the end of their bed.
Well, one of the things that I love so much about our conversation on episode 195 of the Plant Strong podcast was how we just dove deep into all the different animals, like Samson, right? The 2,500 pound.
You were amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I told so many people. I said all I wanted to do was talk about the animals. It was so much fun.
Oh yeah. We want to talk about Charlie the pig. We wanted to talk about Dino, right? The pony that survived that crazy fire. Buddy, right? The blind horse that in his and his buddy, was he the one that you named your book after?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a beautiful story. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember something about peppermint and just peppermint for some reason.
Because he loved them. He loved peppermints, and he would search your body I used to hide them all over myself, and he would search for them in my shoes. And played a little hide and seek with the peppermints.
Yeah. So anyway, if you haven't listened to that conversation, it is wonderful, and go back and listen to that. But when you founded this in was it 2003?
Yeah.
2001
we founded. We came to this property.
Okay.
That's when we sort of what we consider the founding, was when we came and built out this farm.
Yeah. But you were one of the few back then, right?
Yeah.
And now, like in the United States, how many animal sanctuaries are there? Do you have any idea?
Well, it's interesting. I would have guessed a couple hundred, but I checked in with the folks at the Global Federation of Animal Sanctuaries. They are the organization that accredits sanctuaries to give potential supporters some. Well, they do it for accountability, but they also it's a way of supporters sort of discerning at least who on the surface has their ducks in a row, so to speak. They estimated, I talked to them the other day, they think there are 1,000 farm animal sanctuaries in the country. Boggles my mind.
And is there a farm sanctuary association where you all can go and meet, or a Facebook site where you can kind of share everything that's going on right now?
There are informal Facebook groups. But by and large, sure, there are informal Facebook groups, and there are periodic roundtables that are hosted by GFAS, the organization I just mentioned, on a particular topic. But by and large, we operate pretty autonomously, which is a challenge we need to sort of think through and think past, because I think if there were a whole lot more collaboration, it would better serve the animals.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about one of the things that we talked about towards the end of our conversation last time was how the environment is different than when you first launched this in your new location 20 years ago. And so what are some of the things today in 2023 that are kind of impinging upon and affecting your job, Kathy, and everybody that's associated with the Catskill Animal Sanctuary? What is making your job more difficult?
Yeah, thanks for that question. There are several factors. One is climate change. We are having a hard time keeping up with the cost of hay, and the cost of hay is in part a reflection of inflation, but it's in part a reflection of climate change, because hay requires, I'm sure you know this, several days sun in a row in order to dry completely. And if it doesn't dry completely, then you have moldy hay, and moldy hay can sicken animals, if not kill animals.
Yeah.
And so there is a real supply and demand problem with hay in pockets of the country because we had such a wet summer. And a few years ago, hay was $5 and $6 a bale, and it's now $10 a bale, and it's expected to only go up.
Let me just stop you for a second. It's so funny you say that about the rain. I can remember last year when I was at the farm, our family farm that's just 50 minutes from your animal sanctuary, and there was no rain last year. This year, there wasn't. Like you said, there wasn't 2 days together where it didn't rain at some point. So I mean, it was a brutal year as far as consistent rain, at least in that part of the Northeast. And I can remember when I was there, there was mammoth flooding in the Hudson Valley region.
Yeah, there's a lot of we're worried about it now because we had a couple inches. The water table is so high and the ground is so saturated. And we got a couple inches last weekend. We're supposed to get a couple inches again on Sunday. So you might check in with mom and dad.
Yes. Yeah. But I'm sorry. So you were talking about the price.
So climate change has impacted us in terms of how it's impacting the scarcity of hay. It's impacting the quality of hay. That's one factor. It's affecting our grounds. We're experiencing such erosion because of all the rain. We're having tree loss. Like, it's pretty profound stuff. There are a whole host. Go ahead, Britt.
I'm just wondering if this has happened. Have you just felt the brunt of it just in the last 2 or 3 years, or has this been a gradual kind of worsening that all of a sudden now it's like, whoa, this is like intense?
When you listen to the scientists talk about climate change, they'll say that climate change, the escalation was going to go like this, and then suddenly it was going to go like this. And that's what has happened here. There was over the years, we thought, we're losing some trees. Wow, there's a rocky patch where there used to be grass. And in the last couple years, I can't believe what's happening. Just visually, you see the difference, dramatic difference in our property. So I think we're at that point, which science confirms, where we're starting to escalate frighteningly quickly.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's one thing. That's one change that makes it challenging. You want me to keep talking about that?
Sure, please.
Okay. Another thing is the fact that there were a few farm sanctuaries, and now there are hundreds, and there have been hundreds opening in the last few years. And unlike with dog and cat shelters, I call farm sanctuaries a bold, noble, but fragile experiment. Because we are asking people most of whom consider these animals food, to care about them. Like, to care about pigs, and to care about goats, and to care about chickens, and to care about sheep and cows. And so you had a handful when we opened. There were a handful of sanctuaries. Now there are hundreds. And while, thanks to all kinds of reasons, including people like your dad and people like your mom and sister and people like you, right, and the documentarians and the vegan restaurants, and animal sanctuaries, for a whole host of reasons, there's a much greater awareness of the urgent reasons to go vegan, all the urgent reasons to go vegan. But our affinity for the animals, for who they are, and our support for animal sanctuaries has not kept pace with the rise in the number of sanctuaries. So the number of sanctuaries is exploding, but the dollars in support of those sanctuaries is not exploding. So that's a second factor. A third factor is that there were in this sanctuary, in this animal rights space, animal rights, animal welfare space, there were a number of big donors in the way that every nonprofit space has its philanthropists who have pulled their funding from sanctuaries because they've decided that sanctuaries are a poor return on investment, that they would rather they'd rather
How
fund.
can I ask you a, a poor return on their investment? I mean, I would imagine that most people that are supporting and investing in animal sanctuaries aren't doing it to try and get a return on their dollars. I would imagine they're doing it to help help the
They
animals
they were initially, and ironically, in pulling their funding from sanctuaries, from every sanctuary, um, they still have that vision of a plant-based world. They absolutely still do, but they believe that their money is better spent on things like street activism, and in particular, the scaling of clean meat initiatives. So there's millions and millions and millions of dollars going to trying to perfect and market and scale
I get it.
various.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
you're talking about that return on the investment. I get it. Yeah.
that ROI for
Yeah.
all for what it costs to feed a cow for the rest of that one cow's 18, 20, 22 years. You could take that money and put it to work over here. But my argument, back before COVID, when I was actually traveling around the country and speaking, and once I have a funny
Yeah.
story about your dad. I once spoke in a slot next to him. Guess who had the bigger crowd?
You did.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. It was at a vegetarian conference. Um, um, I lost my train of thought with that memory.
Well, a story maybe about Etsy. Let's see. I'm
The
trying to.
the the investors. Oh, my argument to them is
Oh
that,
yeah.
if you if you decenter, if you take the animals out of this equation, because people come at this for health. That's your primary focus. People come at this for environmental reasons, and people come at this because they love animals and they don't want animals to be hurt, to suffer, to feel fear, right? And so if you take the animals away and you don't provide people the opportunity through sanctuaries to fall in love with these animals and to realize that they're really no different from their dogs and cats. They feel every emotion. They're as individual. They want their lives as much as we want ours. If you remove the animals, how is that different from removing gay people from the LGBTQ movement? If the rest of us only knew gay homosexuality was a possibility, but we didn't have
Mm,
gay brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles and friends. Like, how is it different to completely remove the animals from the equation and to expect real and lasting change?
mhm.
So it's short-sighted. So that's a third reason. A fourth reason is just inflation. Like when you were paying a couple of years ago $5 for a bale of hay, and now you're paying
Yeah.
10, and you buy 10, 15,000 bales a year, that makes a difference to a small nonprofit.
Boy, does it. Um, you mentioned, you mentioned how one of the great, I think, roles that animal sanctuaries serve as is for people to go and realize that these goats, these pigs, these sheep, these ducks are no different than your dogs or your cats, right? And how you each have a personality and
Oh,
just sentient, wonderful creatures. In fact, right before we came on, you mentioned how you wanted to be outside with the sheep, but your Wi-Fi is a little bit unstable out there. And you mentioned to me how if you want to see love on four legs, you would not believe these sheep. So
oh,
how
they just
how yeah, how is that? Like, tell me why you referred to the sheep as love on four legs.
when a sheep trusts, not that they're not all individuals, because you've got some who are a little more laid back, you've got the goofy one, but as a species, sheep are breathtakingly soulful. They just come up and they look in your eyes and they stand there and they feel you, is the best way. They feel you. And like, people are moved to tears sitting with the sheep on a regular basis. And then they come up and they put their little face on your face or on your chest, or they lie down next to you or literally in your lap. That's who they are.
Mm-hmm.
I have a friend sitting here. Am I exaggerating? I'm exaggerating. That's who they
Yeah,
are.
yeah,
They're
yeah. How many sheep do you have in the sheep pen
well,
or the sheep
well,
field?
well, we have we have a phenomenon called the Underfoot family that all began with a sheep named Rambo, and the Underfoots are free rangers. They go wherever they want. They get in trouble all the time, but they never leave the property.
Yeah.
Um, so they just roam around all day, and we have 20 of those, I'm going to say. In the two sheep fields, we have 40 some more. So we have 60 some sheep.
Wow.
Yeah.
And just to give everybody an idea, like paint for me a picture of if we were there right now, what would it look like, and what animals do you have on the sanctuary right now? How many different species and how many roughly?
We have 10 species. The horses, we have 16 or 18 horses, including a 35-year-old blind Appaloosa named Buddy, who would rub his head against you until he knocked you to the ground and probably nibble your face or your fingers.
So Buddy is still alive. How's he doing?
No, he's not still
Oh,
alive, Rip.
oh,
This
oh.
is the fourth blind horse we have taken in, named who happened to be named Buddy.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
In fact, the last time we took this guy 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, we had no more business taking another blind horse. We adore them, and we've gotten so good at helping
Yeah.
them feel comfortable in their new and confident in their new environment. But they are a lot of work, lot, of course. And so I said to myself, what would compel me to take another blind horse? And the answer, because we'd had 3 prior to that, in my head was, if his name is Buddy. And when the
Yeah.
woman on the phone said his name was Buddy, I
That's
nearly
so that almost is like a reincarnation or something bizarre. Um, do you know how this particular buddy lost its eyesight?
yeah. There's a very common condition among Appaloosas, which is a horse
Okay.
native to this country, and they're eight for reasons nobody really understands. They are 8 times more likely to go blind from a condition called uveitis than other breeds. We've had 10 blind horses, and 9 of them have been Appaloosas.
Uh, okay. So you've got
So
horses.
horses, we've got a whole mess of pigs, we've got a whole mess of cows, we've got sheep, we've got goats who are perpetually in their terrible twos. We have turkeys who are musical and sensitive and affectionate and love to sing, love to
How
sing.
are they? So how are they musical? What do you mean by that? I
You turn
mean,
on music and they sing. You
Do they
turn
have
on
good
the
voices?
and then um and ducks who are tend to be, even though I don't like generalizing, sassy and hilarious and very talkative.
Yeah.
Geese and chickens.
Or geese and chickens. And
Yep.
then would you do the ducks get along particularly well with the chickens or the ducks or the turkeys?
Okay, that is like asking, do do people get along with their neighbors? It just depends.
Right.
It just
Right.
depends. They are as individual as we are, and you have some sassy pants ducks who wanna boss everybody around. But we have had successful pairings of various combinations of birds, chickens and turkeys, or ducks and geese, or and back in the day before avian flu was another threat to sanctuaries in this region, and we could have free range birds, which we had a lot of, which we can't do now. Um, uh, they various birds would of various species would pal around together a lot.
Mm, mm. Um, so tell me, you just named a whole bunch of different species you have there. Is one species more, I don't know, more difficult, more expensive basically to home to house than others?
More difficult to house or more difficult to manage?
Any
That's a
any
I've never been asked that question. Okay, on the difficulty scale, pigs are at the top of the list.
Now, why in the world is that?
Oh, they are strong. Okay, please, if you're listening, I am not in the same way that they're universal things that make us human, despite how different we all I'm saying is that these are universal things about pigs. After these four things, there's wildly different, as all of us are. But pigs are strong. They can drag you around like you're a blade of grass. They are willful. They are food obsessed, and they are drama queens. And they have tantrums, they climb fences at dinner time, they sound like bears when they're mad. Blah, 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 blah. Science will catch up with what sanctuaries know. Science is decades behind what sanctuaries know because we live with these guys rather than putting them in artificial environments to test things about them. We have seen pigs laugh and cry. And they're so smart. If they're in an environment where the worst they're going to get is bad pig. Bad pig. That's the worst that's going to happen at a sanctuary. You're not going to beat them. You're not going to electrocute them. You're not going to put them in a gestation crate.
Yeah.
Right? They are a force of nature. They're a lot to manage. So, in terms of management, and then and then when they get out because somebody leaves the gate open, then that's always fun. Are pigs as smart as I hear? Pigs are maddeningly smart.
Wow.
Maddeningly, shockingly
So
smart.
which species eats the most food on a daily basis?
The cows, because it goes by weight, and cows
Mhm.
can weigh 2,500 pounds.
Mhm.
Cows can
Mhm.
weigh. We had a cow who weighed almost 3,000 pounds. So we use um, easily $500 worth of hay a day in the winter. Probably more than that because that would be 50 bales. Probably more than that. Probably more like 600. I would have to do the math, but a lot. Dozens
Wow.
and dozens and dozens of bales a day. And a big cow will eat uh, an entire bale. So that's $300 a month just to feed one cow hay.
Yeah. Um, well, so tell me this. because I want to know with, you know, it almost feels to me like this impending doom that is descending down upon not only you, but also animal sanctuaries in general. And I know that there was a article recently that was written in Veg News about five things
Yeah.
that 5 ways that people can help out their animal sanctuaries, especially this winter. If I keyed you up, if I let you know the talking points, can you talk about it?
Sure.
Okay. So the first one is, and I think we've kind of mentioned this, but really, I think understanding the economic strain that is um, that is being presented on these animal sanctuaries. So, like, just looking here, like for example, like here, this is a quote from you: "Our vehicles are falling apart, our roads need repair, and we're not hiring for key positions like volunteer coordinator, a role that would help keep staff costs in check." So that's one thing, right?
Right. When your costs have gone up exponentially and um, some of your reliable income streams are still being impacted by COVID. So, for example, we have a bed and breakfast, but people don't want to share bathrooms anymore, right? So the rental rates have gone down.
Mm.
That's just one simple little item. Um, then then sorry, Rip, I forgot again because I just got distracted by the sheep. Um, well,
Yeah. Just basically the understand the economic strains that are going on and that are a reality right now. That
yeah, so it is inflation. It's the dramatic cost. We did a survey. I kept, sanctuaries talk to each other. And I was hearing the same thing from pretty well established sanctuaries that donations were down, some modestly, 10%, although that's a lot,
mm,
some pretty dramatically. So we decided to survey sanctuaries and surveyed 45, got 45 responses, and nearly everybody is seeing a dramatic increase in costs and an equally dramatic dip in donations.
yeah. All right, I want to move on to the next point, but first I want to just highlight this comment that just came in. Um, yeah, this is from
Yeah.
Monte. We had a hog farm when I grew up. I had a favorite pig, and his name was Arthur. I always hated the day when the pigs would go to the market. And Monty, just so everybody knows, Monty was on our Facebook Live last Friday, and Kathy Monte regaled us with his story of losing 100 pounds in the last like 8 months by going whole food, plant based, and
Wow.
how he's doing everything he can to shore up his
That's
health.
amazing.
And
Good
he
for
and
you.
he and he's a long distance truck driver.
Oh, that's hard.
Isn't that something?
That's, yeah.
But he prepares all his meals ahead of time. He bought a little like walking treadmill that he puts in the back of his cab, so he can take that out and walk when he has rest breaks. So here's a guy that everybody has excuses, but he's basically tossed away all the excuses, and he's like, the fact of the matter is, you either want it or you don't.
Yeah, Monty, good for you. And I'm glad you found this guy because he's got all kinds of support for you as you've
Yeah,
learned.
yeah. Um, so this is from Carrie. Is there a central place to look for local or regional sanctuaries where we can donate or volunteer?
So you can go to sanctuaryfederation.org, and on there, that's the Global Federation, the accrediting body. On that website is a list of accredited sanctuaries around the world, actually. And you can drop down the menu, because there are equine sanctuaries, wildlife sanctuaries. You can drop down the menu till you see farm animal sanctuaries. Here is the issue: they are a very small organization. So you might have a great sanctuary right next door to you that hasn't been accredited just because GFAS hasn't been able to get to it. So my suggestion, that's an option, but I also can urge people to get in touch with us via communications@casanctuary.org, because there's a chance that we've got a list of sanctuaries, good sanctuaries in your region that may or may not be listed with GFAS.
Mm-hmm. So in this Veg News article, the second point that they bring up is recognize winter preparation challenges. And how are you guys? I mean, it's December 15th. How do you feel like you're doing right now? Are you prepared to weather this winter?
Well, we have a driveway that's a hill and a shape like an S. And you don't want a tractor trailer filled with hay coming down there in an ice storm or snowstorm. So our hay barn is stacked floor to ceiling, front to back, with thousands and thousands of bales. It's not enough to last the winter, but it's enough to get us through in the event that they can't make it for the next couple deliveries. So you learn to just prepare. And in the early days, we learned from mistakes about preparing. But we're pretty well prepared from a practical point of view. I don't know what we're going to do if costs continue to escalate. Our hay supplier said he thinks straw prices are about to jump up. So it is what it is. We're all doing the best we can and hoping that people like your audience, Rip, will hear this and do what they can if they support the work of animal sanctuaries.
Yeah. Tell me, are you, because I know I got an email from you, it was probably 5 to 6 months ago, and you mentioned that with the impact that climate change was having on your particular property, that you were looking to find a new property for the Catskill Animal Sanctuary. Is that still the case?
Well, funny you should bring that up. We have a board meeting on retreat on Sunday night, Monday, Tuesday morning, to put that plan in place. So I would say the answer right now is yes. We don't have the how yet, but it has become critical. We've been so impacted by climate change that it's critical for us to find a different kind of property. We're in a bowl, right? We're in a how do I do that? A bowl. We're in a bowl. Where's my hand? We're in a bowl. Yeah. And so you can't be in a bowl when you've got flooding. You just can't. We've put in hundreds of thousands of dollars of curtain drains and culvert pipes, and we've repitched roads, and we've dug, deepened the pond, and just nothing is quite enough.
And so if there's anybody that's listening and you have, what are you looking for? What kind of acreage are we talking about here?
Depending on how it's laid out, because another thing that with the escalation in climate change, we have a whole list of things that we will do differently moving forward. We need a lot of shade, a lot of shade. It's going to be hot as hell. And the animals, pigs struggle in the heat. They all struggle in the heat. We struggle in the heat. So, the acreage, depending on how the land is laid out, like right now we have 150 acres, but it's not, the animals don't use all of it. If it were properly laid out, we could probably get away with as little as 80 acres. Don't want hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of acres to manage. you know, unless some gift were going to drop out of the sky and somebody was going to donate land and we could take a portion of that land and give it to a wildlife
Right.
sanctuary, for
Right.
example. But we don't want to manage more than what we need.
Yeah. And is the thought then that not to necessarily grow the animal sanctuary, but just kind of keep it the size that it is today?
Where we want to grow the education part of the mission.
Yeah. Yeah.
We want to grow the food, the nutrition, the helping people fall in love virtually. It's just not sustainable economically with what's happening with these costs to have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. We have mostly big animals. Like we have sheep. Most of our animals are sheep, goats, pigs, cows, and horses.
Hmm.
It's not sustainable to have, 200 is enough. And so the real impact we can have is to love them so that they learn to love people for the first time in their lives and become these game-changing ambassadors. But then beyond that, to invite the public to connect with them and then to provide the resources for them in terms of supporting their vegan journey.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I've even thought about, wow, how could we partner with your family? Just haven't gotten that far yet. But that's how we want to grow. We want to grow the educational piece. We've always been a teaching sanctuary. I was a teacher, and we do it really well, non-judgmentally. We have programs that are tied to state educational standards that can go right into the schools. So that's how we'll grow.
When you used to be a teacher, what did you teach?
11th and 12th grade English.
Really?
Yes.
No wonder
Love
you knew. Yeah, Gambit, the
it.
Gambit.
Close enough. Runs the gamut. That's right.
Yeah. I bet you were a wonderful teacher. I bet your students just adored you. I mean, to me, you just don't seem like you lack for any kind of enthusiasm, curiosity, and just boundless energy. That to me, those are all good marks of a great teacher.
I hope they, I, I hope they did. I think for the most part.
Yeah.
I can't talk about it, but I do have a lot of students who are still in my life from
That
25.
well, there you go. Well, that's I think that says it all. Well, so if people that are listening, they want to donate either money or themselves by volunteering, where should they go? Can we put that up on the screen, Carrie? There we go. Is that a good place?
You go right to the website. We've got a winter sponsorship campaign. People can just donate outright a single amount, or people can donate to choose an animal and sponsor an animal. We actually have a campaign going on where people can go online, pick their animal. And if they have a little one in their life, or if they like these on their own, we've got plushy lookalikes. So that you can pick a goat and you'll get that goat doppelganger, that lookalike. So those are a couple ways, just, an outright donation or a sponsorship, and other sanctuaries have, okay, look, see, for example, this looks very much like Russell the pig. And we have an amazing longhorn cow named Cecil.
Yes.
And Hermione the goat.
Oh,
So,
Hermione.
yeah. So that's a fun win. That's a fun way to support and have a connection with the animal, because if people are for your listeners and viewers who are in our region, part of the benefit of sponsorship is you get to visit your animal. Not only do you get the stuffed animal and the certificate and the animal story, but you get to visit.
So as we head out, Kathy, will you share with us a story of one of your animals and how they've maybe been a teacher and a friend? And if that's putting too much pressure on you, I can tell you, I loved what you did last time with Samson, that 2,500-pound steer. And So anyway, you think about that.
Well, if you don't mind, can I tell the Rambo story?
Please go for it.
Okay. The Sanson story was beautiful, and that was one of the most powerful deaths where he just said goodbye in the most beautiful way. Oof. Rambo was a Jacob sheep with massive horns. And we rescued him and 17 other animals from a hoarder. The hoarder did not surrender the animals. We had to go through the motions of a cruelty case, which can take months. So Rambo had to be separated from the herd because he was not neutered, and sanctuaries do not breed animals. You don't create more when you turn down animals every day. So Rambo was locked in a stall and not too happy about it. Why would he be? Because he'd been locked in a stall with 17 other animals for years, including a decomposing cow. So he would go to the back of the stall and come at us with these horns and just boom and knock against the door. Well, he knocked the door open. The 2x6s came undone, and he'd come out, shake his head, poop, walk away. So we decided that to save the barn and ourselves, we would let him be our first free range animal. As soon as we let him out, and by the way, we eventually won the cruelty case, able to neuter him. As soon as we let him out, all that rage dissipated. He was just frustrated and trying to tell us. So for his 12 years with us, he wandered the grounds and slept on a bed of straw in the middle of the barn, coming and going as he wanted. And one night I went down to check on the animals before we had built our turkey barn. We only had 2 turkeys at the time. We would carry them out to their yard, bring them back in. November night, it was sleeting. I went to the barn. I went to check on the animals. It's a 20 stall barn, 10 stalls on the right, 10 stalls on the left. I looked. Rambo was on his bed. I walked right past an empty stall where the turkeys should have been. Didn't register. So the humans had screwed up 2 times. The staff had left them out, and then the backup had not noticed. So I went to the end of the barn. I said, "Good night, animals. Good night, animals."
Do you say good night to the animals every night?
When I'm here,
Yeah.
and I'm down here. My life is different now. But when I'm down here, of course I do. And and I also stand at the top of the hill and say, "I love you, animals," all the time. Anyway, I walked to the end of the barn. I said, "Good night, animals." Rambo got up, walked to me about 60 feet, walked to me, looked up, and went, "Bah." I said, "Show me what's wrong." He walked halfway down the barn aisle, and he walked into the empty turkey stall. And he turned around, and he looked at me, and he went, "Bah." And that moment changed my life. Because he knew they were out there. He knew they weren't supposed to be. He figured out a way to tell a human being. He knew the human being would help, which made me realize in an instant, he understands what this place is. He understands. He knew that I would help them. He understands that we are here to serve them and not the opposite. And then finally, an animal who had never known a moment's kindness until he came here cared about the well-being and comfort of 2 animals from a different species. And that moment told me all that I need to know about things I needed to learn and the different ways we needed to pay attention.
Yeah, that's a great story. Here, let me. This is I think so appropriate, from Michael saying, "Thank you for committing your life to animals." And I think that all of us listening today feel so grateful for you and for your boldness and your passion and your underlying foundational commitment to the animals that is it appears to be unwavering for the last several decades. And my hope, Kathy, is that you guys will figure out a way to weather this storm. You'll land on all four of your feet or two or however many. And I think there's a lot of people out there that feel for what you guys are going through and other animal sanctuaries and do want to help, because these are values that are near and dear to us as human beings. So much love and gratitude for what you're doing.
Well, you right back at you. You're a good man, and we're all part of making this world healthier and happier and saner for all of us, no matter how many legs we have.
Yeah. Now, but as we sign off, is there a way you could take the camera and show us a field or any animals, even if we lose contact, connectivity? I'd love to try it.
Okay. So this is just a broad view.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And but the animals are too far.
Yep.
Hi, Barkley. All right, but the sheep, hang on. Let me get the sheep. Thank you for asking that. This is fun.
What is Barkley? What's Barkley?
A horse, a 35-year-old horse. We've got 3 35-year-old horses. Oh, is it dinner time? Oh, here are the goats, some goats. Hi, girls. Hi, Joyce. What you doing? I don't know if you can see them because of the sun.
Yeah, let me see if I can move. Hey, Carrie, let's remove the any banners we have on the screen. There we go.
Bah.
We can, just so you know, we can see really well.
Oh, you can?
Yeah, we can see the land, and there's a pickup truck, a white pickup truck, it looks like, or
yeah, which means it looks like the sheep are locked in the barn, which probably means there's some medical treatment going on.
Got it.
We'll go peek in.
Yeah, let's see what we can do.
Hi, Brenda. What you doing? Why the boys in here? Why are the boys in here?
Is that Brenda, you said right there?
Yes.
Oh.
Okay, here, I am going to be quiet because there is something. Okay, there's a medical procedure going on.
Does that mean like a birth or something?
No, probably just hoof trims.
Oh.
So this is where they normally would all be. This is 28 boys and 1 girl.
Oh my gosh.
All here. And Annie, we are live with Rip Esselstyn. What are you guys doing?
We are doing hoof check.
More hoof checks.
Yeah.
Can you?
We're down to once a week for everybody. Everyone's moving in the right direction, which is awesome.
Look at Malcolm. Are you telling us you want to go outside, buddy?
I think I'm done.
I think so.
Yesterday.
I think so.
Hey, what happens if you don't do a hoof check every week?
So they have a bacterial infection that causes the hoof rot. So we do a hoof check, which includes like cleaning off each hoof, inspecting it, and we do an antibiotic shot that lasts for about a week. So the idea is that we are trying to kill off this bacteria because it lives in like the ground, and the hoofs pick it back up, and then they can get reinfected if you don't knock it out all at once. So every week, everyone gets a health check, and if their feet look okay, then they're good to go. And if they still have hoof rot, then we'll do another round of antibiotics until we finally push it all out. This is Annie Motter, by the way, you guys, our healthcare manager.
Hi, Annie.
And who's down here with you?
Hey.
Dominic and Sophie and the sheep.
Hi.
And the sheeps. So these guys were we had a neighbor who had a backyard. I mean, literally just a few hundred yards down the road from us, who had a backyard slaughter operation, and we didn't even know about it because he was just a long driveway. And one day there were sheep like limping in the middle of the road, and long story short, we called the police and we called the SPCA, and by the time the SPCA intervened, 30 some sheep had died. They were dying from hoof infections.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's been a battle. But then 10 of them came here pregnant, so we had 10 births last December. We're celebrating lots of 1-year birthdays.
Uh-huh. Well, that was really that made my day seeing that right
Well,
there.
I'm so glad you asked, and I wish normally I just come out here and sit. The other ones, because they've had a medical treatment, they're not that happy. But normally you can just sit it's like we call it the sheep pile. You just go out there and sit, and you're literally surrounded by them.
Yeah. Well, well, next time we talk, I want to do the whole thing outside so I can see and get the ambiance of the sanctuary. That's nice.
Yeah, this connection is pretty good. It does get iffy outside, but yeah,
Yeah.
we'd love to try it. Can you see Cricket, the brown and white horse?
Oh, yes, I can see. Uh-huh.
So Cricket was chained to a tree and has a permanent scar around her leg, and just left out in the woods. She's been here for probably 15 years.
Wow. Have you had snow yet this year?
No, we've had rain because it's been so wet. It's been so warm.
Yeah.
And that's what
Yeah.
I was saying about your parents. We're supposed to be getting, I think I heard 2.5 inches of snow. Of rain tomorrow, Sunday,
Yeah.
which would be 2.5 feet of snow. But no, we haven't had anything because it's
Do you like snow there at the animal sanctuary?
rip.
What?
For about 5 minutes.
Okay.
It makes your work so difficult. To
Right.
have to plow feet of snow before you can even get to open the gates to feed the animals, it's just hard. It's hard.
Yeah. Well, Paul says this is so cool watching from Bracebridge, Ontario, Canada.
Oh, hello.
Yeah.
Well,
And then
we had, oh, thanks. Oh, thanks, you guys. Feel good
Yeah.
here today. Thank you. We actually have virtual programming where we can take anybody on a virtual trip or an actual educational program. People should go online if they're interested. We've been doing that for years
Oh, that's smart. That's really great.
for people who can't come in person. And there's nothing like in person. There's nothing like the sheep pile.
Yeah. Well, when you said there were 28 boys and 1 girl, this comment came in from Michael. 28 boys,
Boy.
1 girl. What could go wrong?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't actually, I keep meaning to ask why she's out there with them. Because there's a reason, of course, because normally we would never do that. I just don't know what the reason is.
Yeah.
Probably has something to do with hooves.
Yeah. Kathy, our time is up. So I want to wish you and every horse, pig, cow, sheep, goat, turkey, duck, geese, and chicken that you have a Merry Christmas. And I hope Santa Claus comes down that chimney and takes care of you guys.
You guys, I appreciate you so much. And to everybody listening, thanks for being here, and appreciate the love and support. Really do. casanctuary.org. Rip. Summertime soon.
Boom. You got it. Plant strong.
Plant strong.